Okay, so the last contract training we're going to have is when representing a landlord in a lease situation. This is your dot loop dashboard. Again, you'll see the three previous loops that we conducted training on. The first was representing a buyer, which was David Ortiz. The second was a listing for sale, 15 Door Street. The third was a tenant representing a tenant, right here, Alex Kellerman on the left. So we're going to add a loop. And since you're representing a landlord, you're going to put the property address. So we're going to put, in this instance, 9 Atlantic Street. We're going to pick the listing lease loop as the template. Then we're going to click done. And then view loop. So just like all the other loops, you're going to have a training guide up top. This will help walk you through each of the documents that you need to complete in detail. And then all the way at the bottom, you're going to have a checklist, again, just like all the other loops. Although we're not going to go through every step in this training, this checklist really helps keep you on track to make sure you're completing all the necessary steps for this particular type of transaction. It's really helpful. Again, it's not needed to be complete to actually get a loop approved by Chris or I, but it really helps you keep you on track. So the first form we're going to cover is the exclusive right to lease agreement. This is going to be the contract between you and the landlord, specifying the terms of the listing for their property. So again, we're going to select and add a landlord. We'll just put Chris as the landlord in this situation. So we're going to add that person. We're going to autofill it. So then you'll see their name right up top. So again, the landlord will be here. They will be granting Full Circle Realty, us as the broker, the exclusive right to lease the property. In the next section here, you're going to spell out the property address, city, state, zip code, and then any unit or apartment number affiliated with the property. Section 1 just lays out the landlord's duties and responsibilities, especially pertaining to things like filling out lead paint forms. Section 2 is the listing period. So again, we can choose any listing period, but 90 or 180 days is something that we would typically recommend. Section 3 is the broker's fee. So this is what you're going to receive from the landlord in terms of a broker's fee. This gets a little bit tricky because in Boston now you see a lot of agents representing landlords who don't charge a fee at all. So in this instance, you would put a 0% of the rent payable in full upon signing the lease. That is because many agents now in their listings specify that the tenant is responsible for paying a half month or a full month's fee to them as the listing agent. This is not standard. Again, this is negotiable with the landlord. A lot of times landlords do pay fees. We don't really recommend it one way or another. It's just whatever you negotiate with that landlord. So if you want to enter into an agreement with them where, for instance, you might receive 1 month's fee for a year lease, you would put 8.33% of the rent payable in full upon signing the lease. That stipulates 1 month out of 12 would be paid to you as a broker's fee. But again, this can be anything. If it's a half month, you would convert that to a percentage of the lease agreement. The rest of the section kind of lays out the details. Again, we won't go through all of this, but it kind of lays out the specifics of when you would be paid and some of the stipulations tied to it if you don't bring the actual tenant in. But after your listing agreement is over, a tenant signs with that landlord that maybe you had introduced initially. Section 4 is broker's cooperation. This is basically saying, just like a listing loop, what you're going to provide to a tenant's agent that's bringing in a potential tenant to live in that property. So in that case, you would offer compensation. If you don't want to offer anything to subagents, you put 0 to subagents. If it's anything for the tenant's agent, you could put 50% for the tenant's agents if you want to do a 50-50 co-broke. And then if there are any other parties you would offer, you would specify that there, but we'll put 0 for others. Sections 5 and 6 kind of lay out some of the details of what happens if that tenant extends or renews their lease that you were able to bring in, or if there's a sale of the property. Typically, we recommend that we are, as agents, are not due any sort of fee if a tenant extends or renews their lease, or if the property is sold to that tenant who moves in. Again, we feel that if we're not providing those services and representing the landlord, we shouldn't be due an additional fee. At the bottom, you're just going to date. You're going to have the landlord sign, and then you're going to have us as a broker or authorized representative sign. So you can sign as the agent, or you can have Chris or I sign as the broker or authorized rep as well. Then you just share it with your client, have them sign, and keep this on file.